To define street harassment as anything I don't want, I didn't ask for, that's very dangerous, and it's not, it's very intellectually dishonest. One, no government, no one is going to regulate what comes out of people's mouths, especially when it comes to respect. Unless you are enforcing a holistic culture of respect, this conversation literally is going nowhere. The problem isn't men. The problem is children that say things that are not acceptable. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in once again. You're rocking with Rolla, and as always, if you like this video, click like, subscribe, share it with the world. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I want to come to you guys today to talk about street harassment and just give my 2 cents about that, since I do qualify to talk about it as a woman and someone who has received attention in that way publicly. So I want to just give my opinion on that. The first thing I want to say is that I think it's very dangerous for anyone, especially women, to define street harassment or any harassment as something that's not solicited in a culture to which there's certain things that you don't have to solicit to get that people actually enjoy. To define street harassment as anything I don't want, I didn't ask for, that's very dangerous, and it's not, it's very intellectually dishonest, in that you're not considering the human component of that and the cultural component of what is the cultural norm in the given circumstance that you're referring to and referring from. As it stands right now, as a woman, right, I've received both compliments that were very inviting in terms of how it came across, and I've received compliments that were very repulsive in the way it came off. Honestly, when you talk about let's say bad flirting habits, I think that is really what we're looking at here when it comes to adults. Okay, so so it's like, I think we really need to kind of pull back on some of that, because we're not getting the traction we want as women from men. And as you know, you will never get anywhere with any campaign just you by yourself. You have to have everyone on board, and 1 or 2% of the male population is not going to do it. And if you don't sell whatever you want correctly to men, you're going to be defeated by either their feet walking away or their vote. Okay, so let's be real about this. Now, when it does come to the more vulgar and the more physically involved interactions, right, on the street, honestly, right, a lot of this is coming from children, young adults that have no home training. Now, at the end of the day, the government cannot regulate that. People cannot regulate that. That is something that just comes with being human and being in city life. You don't have that so much, if not at all, in certain rural communities. So if you're in a highly populated city like New York or whatever, you're going to come across that. So to complain about that as if that doesn't come with the territory, that is really intellectually dishonest. I know in my experience, I've experienced guys that have said things to me that I did not like from a distance, but keep in mind, these were children. I might have been like in my teen years when it happened, and they were in their teen years as well. I have never had any what they call street harassment from grown men in my adulthood, especially like from the age of 25 and over. And I used to work in a place where I had to walk past a strip that had nothing on it but strip clubs, prostitution, drugs, all types of stuff, like right in that block. And no one ever tried to harass me, ever. They were literally dirty old men, all walks of life, there standing out, young guys, old guys, all types of explicit things in windows. It was so much that I never drove through there with my children, because if they looked out the window, I'm not explaining that. Okay, sir, it was that bad. But I had to work a block from there, and I had to walk past there all the time getting off the bus. And I'm like, okay, why is it that I never received any of that attention from, men in that way? And I was actually in a place, metropolitan area where that type of, action would go on. But then I started realizing that I don't look like I'm from that school. And sometimes, like, how you look, at a lot of times, how you look does play into whether or not people are going to approach you a certain way. And if you, don't want to acknowledge that, we're just going to keep getting approached that way. So when people like Feminista Jones talk about, street harassment and the disrespect and stuff like that, it's like, well, you're going to get that from a certain population. You're going to get that when you're in certain circumstances. If you're walking around looking like you're selling tail in a place where people will buy tail, they will speak to you as if you're selling tail because they want to buy tail. Sometimes they are testing to see if, that is the case with you because they might not know. In her case, she spoke very vehemently about her circumstances, but it was circumstances involving children. And, right now we have a culture to which we are now telling children that, listen, it's okay for you to, sleep with your teachers, your female teachers. It's okay for you to act that way. There is no boundary between adults and children unless it's black men. So, so now we have these young black men that are feeling like, what? I can say something very sexually explicit to a grown woman that looks like she's like 30 years my senior. That's because we have a culture of teaching them it's okay to say whatever you want. Forget the fact that you have to remain in a certain position as a child relative to an adult. Like, a lot of these movements, especially these feminine movements, are not teaching traditional respect. But on the flip side, that's what they want. And this is why men don't respect any movement that women are doing right now, putting forth when it comes to their social status, because they ask for things that they don't really want. And the things that they're asking for, they haven't even thought all the way through in terms of what that actually looks like. You tell children you have a voice, no one can tell you what to say out your mouth. And then when they start saying whatever they want to say out their mouth, now you upset. Like, it doesn't work that way. And when you really look at, well, why are these young people saying this? It's like, well, no man that I know. Okay, and I've been around a lot of black men my whole life. I don't know no young black men that would utter something as obscene as, I want to eat you from the back, from a grown woman, okay, that looked like she could be his mother. And he has a father at home that he has to answer to. Like, I don't know no men that have fathers in their lives that would say something like that. I've never met one. Now, I have met plenty of men that have mothers at home that will say that and worse and do worse with mothers at home. Yeah, definitely, with the quickness. And it's not a race thing. But I've seen that. I know people, okay? So it's like, if you're going to complain about street harassment, right, then complain about what the real harassment is. Because there's people out here that are losing their lives when it comes to, their interactions in the street. Like, I grew up in a place where when it comes to young people, bricks actually got the flying. So, it was to the point sometimes with young people, I had to cross the street because I knew what it would be, potentially what it could be if I was walking down the street a certain way when it came to those kids. Like, they were very aggressive, but they were coming from homes that were not ideal for raising children, single parent homes headed by women. Now, in my adulthood now, I don't live in the same area. I have not experienced that from an adult male. And like I said, I used to work in a place where you would think that would go on. But I have not experienced that. I don't experience that generally. I don't just be walking the street. Like, I drive. But even when technically when I was in New York, I wasn't walking by myself. I was with a man. But I'll tell you this, right? One time I was walking someplace with my dad because, he's diabetic. He needs to walk. And he was ahead of me, right? And I was behind him some, and I had something in my purse, and I was trying to get it. And there was these guys that was, like, sitting on the step. And they, I guess they were doing something. They didn't recognize me and my dad were together. And while my dad walked a few paces ahead of them, I was behind. They said something to me. One of the guys said something to me. It wasn't really nasty, but it was like, my dad was there. So it was something that my dad didn't like. So what happened was I was digging in my purse and the guy said something and he said it loud enough for people around to hear. And I just looked up at him and I froze because I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen right now. And my dad turned around. Now keep in mind, like my dad, he from the old school and he done spent time in jail. And he let people know real quick he ain't afraid to spend time in jail. So my dad turned around in that way that only jail people can turn around, and he kind of like took a step or two forward. And one of the guys that was with the young man that said something, was looking at him. He's like, hey, like to the guy, and he was looking like, why is this guy looking at me like that? And then when he looked at us a little closer, he seemed like, like that's, that there's some relation here. But then my father has said, what did you say to my daughter? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I ain't mean no harm. I'm sorry. Right. And my father, he kind of looked at him and he was like, come on, Tilly, let's move it. And inwardly, I was like, that's what you get. But it's like, but it was like, I was like 18 years old. Like they were like young men at the time. Of course that wouldn't have happened now. But at the time, yes, that was an issue amongst children. So it's like when it comes to, Feminista Jones, it's like, yes, that happens out here. But it happens out here amongst a population that you are not looking to change. You are not looking to help young men understand how to deal with women and how to deal with women from a position of a man. You are out here just trying to get the men to understand what you want them to do. Now, I do understand that, like, Feminista Jones wants men to, act a certain way in terms of chivalry when she wants them to act that way. But life doesn't, work that way. So, I mean, I get it, it's obscene, it's rude. But at the end of the day, if you don't practice a culture where children know their place, that's going to continue to happen. That is not a black man problem. That is not a man problem. That is a woman problem. Because at the end of the day, if you are not being raped, you are deciding what kind of men you are procreating with. And if you decide to procreate with, a deadbeat that you knew was a deadbeat before you grabbed your legs, and trust me, you knew, you just didn't care. There's no one around that can help you, at all. So, even if black men wanted to help you, how can they help you if you keep on doing this? They can't help you. And when you really look at, most women are having sex and children by the same 25% of men. This is a problem. So, I'm not taking away from anybody's experience. If you were walking down the street and somebody was following you, that right there is really a problem when someone is being a physical threat. But when men are basically groping and they're trying to, get your attention because they think you're nice looking, or, they think you're trying to, solicit yourself in some way, that's not street harassment. Okay. That might qualify maybe, as, poor flirting. Okay. It might qualify as, compliments that you're getting, sick and tired of. Because honestly, I kind of get tired sometimes of people always telling me, how I look sometimes. And I know for me, when I wake up, I don't feel like I'm an 8. I feel like I'm a 5 in the face. And I'm even worse than that, when I really, really wake up. So it's I get tired sometimes of men always complimenting me everywhere I go. But I don't show it because just like a celebrity, you get tired of people wanting pictures all the time. You get tired of having to sing the same songs all the time and hear the same compliments on the songs all the time. But at the end of the day, that person is seeing you for the first time. And to them, this is a first incident as far as they're concerned. So I don't, even though sometimes I get a little frustrated with men when it comes to, that whole, bit about, just talking to me and telling me stuff and giving me compliments I didn't ask for and trying to get my number, even though I get frustrated with that sometimes, because sometimes I just want to chill. I don't want to be bothered. I don't take it out on the person because they don't know. All they know is they see a lady that they're interested in. That's it. And I think when you really get that through your head as a woman, I don't care if you're a feminist or not, you'll have a better life. So let's just call a spade and just say that you might not like compliments, but you're going to continue to get them if you're walking around with other people. And if you don't like it, don't walk around with other people. Get a car, work from home, do whatever you need to do if it's that bad to you. But no one, no government, no one is going to regulate what comes out of people's mouths, especially when it comes to respect. Unless you are enforcing a holistic culture of respect, this conversation literally is going nowhere. And I'm tired of women, complaining about basically getting complimented. Like, if you don't like the fact that, men are, treating you like, they're slobbering over you, change how you dress. And if you feel like you shouldn't have to change how you dress to get a different response from people, that's your problem. Period. Like, period. I walk through, like I said, a spot, I can't get that attention, and I'm on a strip joint. But y'all can get that attention, in a business park, like in New York. Like, seriously, like, it's about you, okay? You are soliciting that in something that you are doing. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it. But if you want to do something about it, work with nature, not against it, okay? You don't ask animals to change because you want to catch one. No, you just get smart enough to set traps that they're not looking for. So the same way here, really. So, I don't want to hold you guys too long about that, but I did want to come and tell you guys that if it's really a problem, work to fix it. But the problem isn't men. The problem is children that say things that are not acceptable, and the men that do the whole, walking with you beside you when you didn't, like, when you're not trying to give them your attention, stuff like that. That's not going to end, honestly. And if it does end, it ends because we have a utopia type of society where all men have their dads in the home, and they are taught from very early on how to interact with a woman. Until then, stop complaining, put your panties back on, and pull them all the way up. All right? And that's all I have to, say today. I'm going to get up with you guys later. I have another video that I'm working on, but, it's in the same way. But, you guys will see it soon. But I will let you guys go, and I hope you guys stay blessed. Let me know what you know in the comments. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.